Hello, I'm Kimberly Powell, and this is Showbiz Mums, a podcast about mums working in theatre and how they juggle the chaos of parenting plus an 8-show week. We'll cover birth stories, pregnancy and postpartum in the theatre industry, and discuss how to maintain a career whilst having kids, or at least trying to. We'll also open up the conversation of job sharing and why that can be beneficial. So join me as we speak to some amazing theatre parents and get some advice on this pretty niche subject matter, but something I'm really passionate about. Today, I'm speaking to Laura Selwood. Laura has appeared in the original productions of Never Forget, the Take That musical, and Ghost, where she covered the role of Molly. She was in Mamma Mia and Waitress, as well as Bells Are Ringing, Saucy Jack and the Space Vixens, plus working internationally in Good Morning Hong Kong. Laura has now left behind her theatre career to become a midwife and transitioned over to the other side after having her children. I can't wait to chat today about what led her to make the leap. So how are you, Laura? How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for chatting to me today.
No, thanks for coming. Yes, it was in the Melissa Jakes episode that I was just chatting to her, and she said, yeah, my friend Laura, who is now a midwife and used to be in the industry. And I just thought, oh my God, yeah, it's got to be Laura Selwood. We've got to get her on and ask her all about it.
Yes, that infamous midwife.
Yeah, everybody's talking about her.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know what she said that I thought was really interesting? And she said, you said you'd found your calling, or the thing that you were supposed to do, like the baby dropped into your arms. And again, this was her saying it's your own story, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But I thought that's really interesting because I think a lot of people feel like that about or think they feel like that about the industry, and then actually something else can always come along and it's your children or this and that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was interested to know whether it was having children that made you go in that direction, or you'd already been thinking about it. But I mean, I guess we'll start at the beginning. And can you just take us back to when you first found out you were pregnant with your first? Were you in a show at the time?
Yeah. So actually, when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, Layla, I wasn't in a show. I was doing some TV stuff. I'd actually, you mentioned that I'd worked in Hong Kong. So I'd gone out to Hong Kong with my then boyfriend, my now husband, back in like 2012. And I'd finished in Ghost. And then my husband had gotten a job out in Hong Kong. My now husband had gotten a job in Hong Kong. And I was like, do you know what? Let's just go, because why not? So we went out to Hong Kong, and then we come back, got married, and then didn't have any kind of musical theatre jobs after coming back, but did a couple of TV bits. And then found out I was pregnant actually when I was filming an episode of Emmerdale, like a little bit part in Emmerdale. And I remember being sat in the chair, like in the makeup chair, being like, I feel absolutely horrendous. I was actually meant to be playing a doctor in this episode. And just remember, and it was like, kind of, obviously it wasn't a real hospital, but you're kind of meant to be like really calm and reassuring. And I was just like, I must look green. I feel absolutely horrific. So yeah, that's when I found out that I was having a baby. Yeah. So it's actually a bit of a full circle moment, really, isn't it? Now I work in a hospital.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you find it? I mean, being on set and filming, horrendous.
I just obviously, you know what it's like when you're early pregnant. You just, like, lots of women just get really nauseous and just feel absolutely horrendous. And I remember just feeling like I've got a constant hangover, but I haven't had any of the fun. So that's how it
disappointing.
Felt. That's how it felt.
Sure. Yeah. And so generally, how was your pregnancy?
I loved being pregnant. I absolutely loved it. As I say, apart from the nausea and stuff, I had really, with my daughter, very, very straightforward pregnancy. I mean, I was pregnant for about 8 years, and I was absolutely massive. Like, I'm a pretty short, anyone that knows me, I'm a pretty short girl. And I've managed to somehow marry a guy who's 6'4" and built like this.
Oh, wow.
So then I ended up having these giant children. And in fact, towards the end of my pregnancy, I was referred to as the Shetland pony. You know those, those
charming.
Those, like, yeah, I know, right? You know those like pregnancy things that you do. 16 weeks, baby is the size of an avocado, and 25 weeks, baby's the size of a butternut squash, and all of this. And we, in our house that we lived in at the time, had put like a chalkboard in the kitchen And every week, my friend David, who's a bit of an artist, would come round and he'd kind of draw like all various things. And I would have like a really glamorous picture. And
Oh,
obviously all like the gorgeous pregnancy hair and all of that. But then the more and more pregnant I got, and basically the more massive I got, and the more swollen I got. So then at the very, very end, it was actually my baby shower, and I was 40 weeks, and my friend David had basically written 40 weeks today and baby is the size of a Shetland pony, and then drawn a Shetland pony, and then there's a picture of me like next to this chalkboard painting. Honestly, it's such a glamorous time.
I
Yeah,
know, isn't it just? Yeah.
yeah, such a glamorous time. But then actually my labor and birth ended up being pretty traumatic.
Okay.
As I say, I went like very, very over, and as I say, because I wasn't a midwife at the time, didn't really understand like the risks and things like that of like going overdue.
Right.
And basically my placenta stopped working, and then I had to have a very emergent like C-section. But she
Shit.
was fine and I was fine and all the rest of it. But yeah, it was and I think it was that actual experience that first kind of put a little light in my head.
Okay.
And because when it was all going on, actually my care throughout when I was pregnant was absolutely amazing. My midwife, I still will, and if I ever meet her, I'll tell her she inspired me. Her name was Vicky Silver. Vicky, if you can hear me. And she was wonderful, and she made me feel so calm all through my pregnancy. But then, actually, when I had my daughter, the care wasn't particularly good, and I was really scared, and it was really awful. And I remember thinking,
Oh,
"Gosh, how is this? Like, what's happened here, and what's happened here?"
yeah.
Like how have we gone from being feeling so safe and so cared for to maybe not feeling that way. And then
Yeah.
I remember thinking, gosh, I wouldn't want any woman to ever feel this way. So that kind of put a light in my head, but I never really thought that it would be something that I would do. Although everyone in my family works for the NHS. My grandmother was a midwife. My auntie worked in maternity. I was like the
Okay.
only one that actually, everyone worked for the NHS, and I was the only one that didn't do it. So I should have probably even thought at that time, oh, this is where I'm going. But I think because I
Yeah.
was so like, I work in theatre, this is what I do, this is my calling, this is kind of what my life is meant to be.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I hadn't really thought about it. And then I had my second, my son, Jonah. Um,
Oh,
and
nice name.
I know, yeah, Layla and
Love that.
Jonah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gorgeous.
so he was about 18 months old, and I went I went to Waitress. It was
Okay.
it was during Waitress that I basically, obviously lockdown happened, and we all got sent home from work,
Yeah.
obviously 16th of March 2020, lest we forget. And
Yeah.
and then obviously everything stopped, the money stopped, everything stopped, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have a mortgage to pay, oh, I have
Yeah.
this to pay, and I have no way of doing that because actually I don't have like anything to fall back on.
Hmm.
And as I say, then my husband could just kind of went, you know what you should do? And I went, what? And he went, you should be a midwife. And I was like, nah. And then I like brushed it off again. And then I think in the summer of that year, when we'd just maybe started like coming back into auditions, everyone had been doing like online sending in tapes, and I hate that. I hate like
Mm, mm.
singing into a camera and then like watching yourself back and going, "Oh my God, does my face do that?" Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like the first like in person like like I think it was a dance call for, I don't know, it was like Cinderella or something, and it was at the Palladium. It was on stage. It was like the final dance call, and I remember being like, I don't feel like I belong here anymore. And
Mm.
I left the stage door after the audition, and I called my agent, the amazing Stephen Paling and Debbie Jenkins, love, and I just said, I can't do this anymore. And that was, I just, it's like a light switch went on in me, and I just decided that I wasn't going to do it. And I don't
No
know.
way. Just
Yeah,
walked out of an audition and bit the bullet.
yeah. I literally
Oh my God. It's
just
incredible.
walked out of that stage door and was
Yeah.
like, I didn't I didn't fit in that room. I didn't fit
Yeah.
there. And and I don't know why. I don't know what had happened. I don't know whether it was gradually from having my kids and being like, you know, thinking about the way that I wanted my family life to be and the way that
Mm.
I wanted to be around, you know, with my children, or whether it was the fact that I didn't like the way that the industry was going with all the self tapes and things like that. And,
Yeah,
because
totally fair.
it has ended up being, even past COVID, it has ended up being, send it to self tape for this, self tape for that. And you know, as I say, I don't know what it was, but in that moment, I went, yep,
I'm
I'm
good,
not going to
thanks.
do that. I'm going to do this. Thank you.
Wowie, that's
Yeah.
incredible. When you were in Waitress, and you'd gone back to that when, as you had your children, were
Yeah.
you were doing, I presume, 8 shows a week, and it was in
Yeah.
town or on tour?
In town. Yeah. In
Yeah,
town.
God, a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, and it is a lot, isn't it? Anyone that works in the industry that has children will tell you that when, for instance, like when I first went into the industry when I was in my early 20s and I thought I was so tired.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so tired. And then you have kids and you were working in the industry and you're like, oh, I was such an idiot. What on earth was I talking about? I wasn't tired. I didn't even
yeah,
know what tired. I was tired because I was probably a bit hungover, but I wasn't tired. I wasn't deep down. And it's not even just being tired. It's like all the stuff that goes along with just being a parent,
yeah.
like
It's the
obviously like
overstimulation. And
the overstimulation, the mental load, the
yeah,
guilt, the guilt, and the fact that, my daughter was 3, my son was 18 months, and, you're kind of leaving, you're never there for bedtime, and I don't have any family around to help.
okay,
My husband doesn't have any family to help, so it was literally just me and him. His job was super demanding, and I was like, gosh, I'm literally just kind of, I'm paying somebody to look after my children, and I was
yeah,
finding that the money that I would get every week from working in town, and I'm working in the West End, this is amazing, but I
yeah,
would literally transfer almost every single penny of that to a childminder, and I'm like, I'm not with my children, and yet I'm not earning any money. What am I doing as well?
yeah,
Like, that was kind of going around my head when I was doing the show. But at the same time, I was in the West End and I love it. So it was kind of a sacrifice. And then I think it must have been COVID that just kind of helped me make that decision, because it just kind of,
yeah.
it made it for me.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's what's so hard. A lot of friends that I have, and that comes from having children, but a lot of people I know that have left the industry without having kids. That's just,
Yeah,
life has taken a different, and it's such a hard thing to decide. And they battle with themselves going back and forth and back and forth. But I think in your situation, I love that you're like, I'm in this audition. I don't want to be here. I'm not doing this anymore. And you've got
yeah,
the kids. And like you say, COVID had happened. It probably been leading that direction, but how interesting. That's,
yeah,
yeah, good for you. So,
yeah.
okay, so then what happened after you'd had the phone call? Were you like, right, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this?
Well, my husband, I mean, he's not a teacher anymore, but he was a teacher at the time. He's
Okay,
actually changed his job. I think me, and I can talk about that in a bit if you want me to. But I think me
sure.
changing my life also then made him change his life in the way that he
Okay.
works. It completely changed his career as well. But anyway, at
Wow.
the time he was a teacher, and one of his roles as a teacher was to help the teenagers wanting to go to university fill out their UCAS forms to go to
Right. Yeah.
uni. And so by the time I'd gotten out of the stage door, down the tube steps at Oxford Circus, onto the train at Waterloo and back to Epsom where I live, I got off the train and he was like, "Right, I'm on the UCAS website," and
Love it. Love it.
he
Best
basically,
husband.
honestly, he was so supportive. And I think
Amazing.
because when people closest to you see you better than you see yourself,
Definitely. Yeah.
he'd as I say, he'd kind of planted the seed. I think you'd be good at that, Laura. I think you could be a midwife, Laura, when I'd had my daughter, as I said. And I think that he was like, I see you doing this, I can see that you'd be good at this. And so he obviously just supported me 100% and encouraged me. And yeah, and say
Amazing.
by the time I'd gotten home, he'd written me a personal statement of things that I would never say about myself.
Oh, stop.
um
I love him.
yeah, honestly, he was just like, I've written this, he was like, you can take anything out you want, but this is you, and I know that you'll never say these positive things about yourself, but this is all
Right.
you. And
Hmm.
yeah, and he was right, I never would have written those things about myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, but anyway, applied. Also, it's secretly going, I'm so used to rejection, as you are when you work in the industry,
Yeah.
that I'll go for it, and if it doesn't happen, it'll just be another thing. And then,
Mm.
I can always go back to theatre because you never lose that. You can go back after a 20-year break if you want to. So I applied to 5 universities,
Okay.
and I got unconditional offers to every single one of them, and I couldn't believe it because whilst obviously I'd been
Wow.
auditioning for all this time, I hadn't done a proper like interview for a uni. I hadn't gone to uni. I'd gone to drama school. Do you know what I mean? It's a completely different
Yeah.
ball game.
Yeah.
And I actually got on the master's course at Kingston University because
Amazing.
obviously the course that I had done at Mountview when I trained back in 2002 was a degree course, so I had an undergrad degree. So
Okay. Right.
I'd applied to go on the degree course at Kingston, but also the master's course, and I got into both, and I was like, oh my God. And I remember saying to my husband, well, that's going to be too hard. I don't know how to learn. And he was like, you do know how to learn because you do it all the time. You're constantly
Yeah.
learning.
Great point.
Yeah, he was like, you use. And so I went on the master's course, and it was without a doubt, obviously, apart from having my children and all of that, the hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life. And
Oh my God.
I cursed myself on a daily basis of why have I done this to myself. It was so hard academically because again, I'm jazz hands musical theatre. I'm not an academic, but I almost was like, I'm going to play the character of somebody who's academic, and then I will
Hmm.
become academic.
Love it.
So yeah, I basically spent all the time that I could in the library. Anyone that went to uni with me will tell you this. They all thought that I was like really smart and like really because I always made sure I was sat at the front of the class because you know that whenever you're in a dance audition, if you're not front center learning that routine, you miss everything, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
always sat myself front center in the beginning in the lecture hall so that I
Yeah.
wouldn't miss anything. I was always making sure I knew when the assignments were due, what was expected of us, what the like learning outcomes were meant to be, what books I was supposed to read. I was like bang, 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 like on it. It was so methodical in the way that I was learning that everyone was like, "Oh, you're so smart." I was like, "Ooh, I'm not." And any of my friends that went to uni with me that might listen to this podcast now will be like, "Oh, she played that part well." So yeah, but it
Oh.
was it was so hard, and I felt like it took every single ounce of energy that I had, like
Mm.
mentally, physically, obviously also because you're doing shifts at the same time because you have to do a certain amount of hours in the hospital doing shifts as
Right.
well as your academic work. That yeah, it took everything.
So,
Um,
how long was the course?
it's a 3-year course.
It was 3 years.
Um, yeah, 3-year course, and you basically split your time between being at uni. And then you basically have blocks where you're working as a student midwife in the hospitals.
Okay.
Um, whether it's on the labour ward or in the antenatal ward or in community or postnatal or whatever. So you basically have
Of
an
course.
all round of kind of what it's like, although you never know what it's like until you're actually doing it. Now that I'm a midwife, I'm like, oh gosh, there was so much that I didn't know. Funny that.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
but you're also, when you're at the hospital doing your shifts, you're also like meant to be writing your essays, and you've got like, next week you've got like a 10,000 word essay that's due, and then you've got this, and then you've got this, and you've got, there's
Wow.
so much
Yeah.
to do, and it was really intense. But I also said to myself, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to spend this 3 years away from my kids and my husband because I did kind of have to really focus and took myself physically and mentally away from them on times. There's
Hmm.
no way that I'm going to spend all of this time away with them sacrificing time with me and the money that it's cost because it's not you have to pay. I've currently got
Yeah.
a £60,000 student loan that I now will pay until the day I retire. And I was like, there's no way that I'm going to spend all this time and money and waste it and not do the absolute best that I can. I was like, if I don't walk out of this uni with a distinction on this course, I failed, and I got a distinction on that course.
Oh, thank God.
I was like, I'm getting a distinction. Because I think as
Incredible.
well, like when you work in the industry, you're so used to like it's either perfection or it's rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's no in
Uh-huh.
between. There's
Yeah.
no in between with it. There's no like, oh well, I'll just coast along and I'm sure it'll be fine because you're not going to get a job that way. Like
Hmm.
if you don't put 110% into something, and
Mm.
also like, I always turned up early for work because I was always of the mindset of if you're not early, you're late. Because actually, if you don't turn up early for that audition or that class or whatever, you're going to
You
be
are
on the
late.
back foot. You are late, and I
Yeah,
think,
I agree.
and I actually think that a lot of my like theatre training and the times that I worked in theatre um helped me to kind of get in the mindset of what was expected of me, like, and what I
Totally.
expected of myself, which was nothing but like absolute 110% perfection. I know you can't
Yeah.
be nobody's perfect, but for me I was like, if I don't try my best on this, I failed myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
That's interesting hearing all the transferable skills in a way. Like you're absolutely
so
right.
many,
Sitting front
so
center but even
yeah,
personality wise, I think actors have such a good way with people. And I think as a
yeah.
midwife, that is just fundamental to making
Oh,
people feel okay.
communication in
Yeah.
the NHS, but especially in, midwifery. Um, Communication. If you can't communicate, then you shouldn't be a midwife because.
Mm,
And also, do you know what I've learned? That is the biggest transferable skill is empathy,
right. Yeah.
because do you remember in lockdown when there was those adverts that came out and it was like so and so this child is learning empathy, they just don't realize it yet, and it was like, and I like to do with like theatre classes and things like that, because I think
Yeah. Yeah.
there was like a government scheme where it was like trying to stop kids from like doing theatre classes or can't
Fatima
remember.
is, yeah,
Yeah,
leaving ballet and working in tech.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then somebody in the theatre world had basically spun it on its head and was like, she's learning empathy. She doesn't realize it yet. And I think that's one of the things that I was like, wow, like, because when you work in theatre, especially, like the empathy that you need to have for whatever you're doing and the part that you're playing or whatever it might be, I felt like that was a huge transferable skill that I was able to bring in my midwifery.
Yeah.
And also the ability to um, go on stage if you're having an absolute shocker at home, something terrible's happened, somebody's died, whoever it might be, like,
Yeah.
and to just go on stage and play a part and
Put
leave
a face
everything in
on.
the dressing room, because actually your role right now is to entertain, the 2,500 people that are sat before you. The ability to be able to switch off for a 12.5 hour shift and be there for somebody else is, I think, something that I learned when I was in the theatre world, for sure.
Absolutely. That, yeah, empathy. How can you play a role unless you're actually being that person, being that character?
Yeah,
Then you do that in mid. Yeah, really good point.
yeah,
Interesting. So interesting.
yeah.
So, do you remember your first birth, like when you were a student midwife in the hospital? Because do you have to catch a baby? Is it something like that?
So, you basically have to, we call it facilitating. We facilitate deliveries, facilitate
Nice.
births. Because for me, I'm like, they talk about like delivering babies. I'm not delivering the baby. The amazing queen of a woman in front of me is delivering her baby. I'm
Right.
facilitating like her birth. And I remember as a student, my first birth that I saw, and it was just the most amazing thing. It was this woman that had come in, and it was quite a quick process for her, and she was really scared. And again, it's like I don't know whether it was a mum in me, I don't know. I had those skills. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just there, just, it was the first birth that I'd seen. But I think it was more like the emotional support side of me came out, and I basically cheerleaded her way through her birth.
Nice.
And yeah, and honestly, it doesn't matter how many times you see it. y She's grown a human being inside her. Like, she's a unicorn. Like, wow,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It doesn't matter how many times you see it. You're like, this person that has just come outside of you was like the size of a poppy seed, and now they're a human being, and you did that. It just blows my
Yeah.
mind every time. It's absolutely the
Incredible.
most mind
Yeah.
blowing.
I'll never be
Yeah,
over it. Like it's so
never,
ridiculous, isn't it?
never.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. Yeah,
Oh, brilliant. I
I
can feel
know.
that your passion for it. So, how many
Honestly,
years has it been? Well, and you're qualified now, I guess.
yeah, so two
Yeah.
years, yeah, basically been working. Am I allowed to say where I work? Because I want to big them up because they're amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I work at
yeah.
Kingston Hospital, Kingston
Oh, yeah,
Maternity, and
amazing.
it is the best place to work. And we've got such a wonderful team. Everyone come and have your
Wow.
babies with us. And it's honestly, it's such an amazing place to work. And from like the matron and the director of midwifery all the way down to us and like all the support workers and the doctors, like it's such a wonderful team and we're so women centered. And that's why I love working there because I think
Wow.
like especially with, obviously we all know in the last couple of years all the things that have come out about maternity scandals and all of the rest of it. I just think we have to also we have to say when a place is doing well and when we are
Hmm.
kind of doing what we're supposed to do, which is supporting women to make choices about their bodies and their deliveries and their babies. And I feel like at Kingston they just do it so perfectly. It's such a wonderful team and I love being there.
That's absolutely amazing to hear.
But nearly 2 years, and yeah, my course was 3 years. Um, but yeah,
Wow,
I
long time
absolutely
now.
love it. Yeah. But do you
Oh,
know, I can tell you something that happened actually when I was training, which I was going to mention when you were like, oh, what happened next?
yeah.
In my first year, you'll like this, and it actually is another reason why I knew I'd made the right decision, was when I was in my first year, towards the end of, I think it was like April, Waitress was on tour, doing
Oh,
a UK tour
yeah,
and everyone had COVID, right, on this tour. And they were up in Edinburgh. And Debbie Jenkins is from Payne and Jenkins had called me. It was like a Thursday evening. I was actually on a study week that week because I was meant to be doing an assignment and it was due on the Sunday. And it was the
don't tell me.
it, listen, let me tell you, you know what's coming, don't you?
Oh
And
my
you know
God.
what's coming. You know what's coming. And I was actually at my kids' school. They had like a circus or something there, and so we were sat in a circus tent on the Thursday evening. It was like 5:30 p.m. and my phone rang and it was Debbie. So I kind of went outside, answered the phone, and she was like, "Oh, hi, Laura. I'm just wondering what you're doing on the weekend." And I was like, "Why?" And she went, "Well, Waitress is in Edinburgh and they've sold out their show tomorrow night, Friday night, and they've sold out both shows on Saturday. And of course, the Playhouse is massive in Edinburgh, isn't it? It's absolutely
Yeah.
huge.
Uh,
And they literally don't have enough people on that stage. And so they were wondering if you could get to Edinburgh tomorrow afternoon for 2:30 and go on stage tomorrow night and then do both shows on Saturday. And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
oh my
Um,
God.
And I was like, well, what do they need from me? Because when I did Waitress, I was in the ensemble and I covered Becky, right? So I was like, well, what do
Right.
they need? Please don't tell me they want me to like do a part because absolutely not. They're like, no, 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 no. You've just got to do your normal track. And I was like, okay, fine. And I knew that on my voice notes on my phone, I still had all of my parts, like my singing
Right.
parts,
Yeah.
um like because I named them all when I was in
Yeah.
rehearsal,
Yeah.
so I,
Yeah.
I had I had them all, so I was like, right, okay, I can do this. I don't have to learn any lines. I don't have to like learn anything new because my brain was at capacity with my course of
All
obviously.
right. Yeah.
And so I thought, right, okay, fine, I can do it because I'm on a study week. I've all but written my essay. I'm just meant to be doing like my, bits at the end, my bibliography and my references and things like that. So yes, I can do it. I can do it. So I spent the whole journey up there going through my all my parts, listening to my harmony lines and all the rest of it, and like trying to mentally remember like the choreography and the cupography because Waitress is all like coffee
Yeah.
cups and coffee mugs and
Mm.
sugar and all the rest of it. And I got there and I got off the train, met the company manager by stage door at 2:30. They took me straight down to wardrobe, sorted me out with all my costumes. I'd worn my show underwear, the beige bra and the beige pants, because I still had them. Because I'm a mum and I
Brilliant.
live in I live in beige underwear because I'm a mum, right? So I
Yeah.
still had all of
Absolutely.
that. And so and they were like, "Oh, I love," because they'd obviously gone to M&S and bought all these bras, and you know what it's like when you're trying to fit
Yeah.
a bra on a girl for a show. I was
Yeah.
like, don't worry about that. I'll wear my own bra.
Got
I'll
it.
wear my own
God, you're
this.
such a pro. Yeah.
And so anyway, I turned up,
You know.
and so went down to wardrobe, did that, and then went to meet the dance captain, and she went, okay, so there's been a change of plan. So you're not going to be able to do your normal track because someone else has gone off, and now we basically need you to do different things. And when I say she unraveled this list of changes to the show,
Oh
and
my
it's like
God.
it went all the way down to the floor. And when I tell you that I did not do one part of my own track that night, I basically spent from 2:30 to 6:30 rehearsing a whole new show, new harmonies, new entrances, exits, new props and set that I was bringing on.
Wow. Of
Like literally nothing that I was even playing a man at one point. Honestly,
course.
nothing that I'd ever done before in this show. And I don't know how I think it's maybe because I was in like a learning mindset. I've no idea. But
Yeah.
I literally was stood in the wing before I went on the opposite side of the stage from what I normally would go on, which disorientates you for a start. When you know, like
Absolutely.
when you're a swing and
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I felt like a swing. Anyway, I was stood in the wing with a jug of orange juice because that was what I was doing when I came on for the top for the show. And at the top of every show, when I used to work in theatre, you'd always have like oh God, I'm nervous, especially if you were doing something new, if you're going on for your
Yeah.
cover or whatever. And I was stood there and I was like, I'm not nervous. Why am I not nervous? And I was like,
How interesting.
because I don't need to do this I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to I'm not trying to be like, oh, maybe there's someone that's going to give me my next job. I'm just doing this for me and because they need me to do this. Otherwise, they've got to cancel this show. And then the curtain went up and it's like sugar, butter, blah, and it went and I just went on and I did it. And I did not miss a beat of that show.
Wow.
You're like, I know that I didn't forget a thing that I'd learned today. It was like I was in like overdrive. And I did the
Yeah.
show, and then the next day, because someone had come back from having COVID, but someone else had gone off, got to stage door, and they were like, "So we've had a change of plan." And I did a different show for the matinee, and then someone else
This
went
is
off in
mental.
the evening, did a different show in the evening, and then yeah, and then basically just yeah, it was brilliant. It was wonderful, and it was so nice to be around my friends again. And then I went home on the train on the Sunday. Um, I
And you were like, what a whirlwind. What has just happened?
well, I put my assignment, I had submitted my assignment, finished all my references on my
Of
iPad on the train
course.
on the way home. And then the following week, they were in Oxford. I think it was Oxford. Yeah, it was Oxford. And they called me the Sunday night, oh, my agent did, and went, okay, so they're in Oxford this week, and now more people have gone off, but other people are back. Do you think there's any way that you can come to Oxford this week? And I was like, listen, I'm back in uni this week. So I have to be in uni, but I think I can get there for the show every night. So what I would do for the whole of the following week is I would wake up in the morning. I woke up Monday morning. I got my kids to school. I
Mm.
went to uni, did from 10 till 4 p.m. at Kingston Uni. I got in my car. I drove to Oxford. I did a show. I drove back to Epsom. I did the same thing the Tuesday and the Wednesday, stayed over the Wednesday night because there was two shows Thursday. And then basically for the whole week did that. I was so tired by the end of that week, but I also felt like a superhero because
Yeah.
I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. But at the end of the week, I literally looked back and I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. I
Yeah.
like I'm gonna be a midwife now. And that again, it was just another like revalidation of like what choice I'd made and that it was the right one for me.
That is absolutely epic. That's
It was
incredible.
amazing.
What a story. But also, what a great point to say that it scratched your itch. You're like, okay, what would it be like
Yeah,
if I did dip my toes back into the industry?
yeah,
And you're like, I'm good. Like, it's been
yeah.
amazing, but I'm good. This is what's for me now.
Yeah, yeah, because I think that obviously when we all got sent home on the 16th of March 2020, we didn't get to do that show on the Monday
Yeah,
on the 16th of March. We came down to warm up and they were like, you guys have got to go home. So we never got that last show.
right.
So actually getting that last show and being like, right, I can put that to bed now. That's great. Thank you.
That is
Onwards.
totally amazing. Yeah, great.
Yeah, it
And
was
like you say, full circle, a nice way to just tick it off and finish it.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, how
yeah.
funny.
I know.
Great
Yeah.
story. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, I do
Oh
love
my
that
God.
story.
So you're a full-time midwife now. How do the hours work? Do you have to do nights? Is it like shift work?
Yeah, it is shift work. So
Yeah.
again, another reason why I love working at Kingston is that I've got it's called flexible working. But
Okay.
basically I requested back not this January, but the January before, because obviously shift work, not knowing when you're going to work is a bit of a struggle when you've got kids.
Mm.
So I basically said, is there any way that I can have not set shifts, but set days where I know at least the days that I'm going to be working so that I can organize my childcare? And they said, yeah. So I basically work a combination of days and nights, Sunday,
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday. And then I work in community as well. So I have a clinic day on a Friday. Um,
Great.
but I always know that like I'm at home. Thursday is my day at home when I
Okay.
do the washing, which is behind me there. That's my next job.
Still a mum. Yeah.
Still a
Still cracking on.
mum.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
so Thursday's my day at home when I get
Great.
everything done that has basically just been on the back burner. And then
Yeah.
I'm always home on a Saturday with the kids because my husband works on Saturdays. So, and that was another thing that for me with the flexible working, I was like, if I have to work weekdays, at least the kids are at school. But on a Saturday, if my husband's at work and then I'm having to then go to work, I'm then paying a babysitter for,
Yeah.
or everything that I'm earning. So I was just really grateful that they said that I could not work a Saturday so that I could be at home with the kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to then have a bit of a routine with it as well. But I also find that night shifts work really well. Obviously, it's tiring and you feel like a bit jet lagged when you do them. But
Mm.
actually, I pick my kids up from school. I see them after
Yep.
school,
Yeah.
and then I'm at home till about 6:30. Then I go to work. My husband then takes them to the breakfast club in the morning, and then they're at school. So the only time I don't see them is that kind of 2 hours in the morning. But then I can pick
Yeah.
them up from school and see them. So it works really well. Whereas if I'm working a very long day, I leave the house at 6:30 in the morning. I get back at 8:30 at night. If I do that 3 days in a row, I might actually not see my kids for 72 hours.
Yeah.
So actually, I really like night shifts.
That works really well. And so then, and you sleep in the day when you get back, and then
Yeah,
before you pick them up from school. That
yeah,
sounds great.
yeah.
Oh God, it's like I feel a bit jealous. Like even when you're talking about clinic, I've got a feeling in my tummy. Like I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is. Oh,
Oh,
it's just I don't know. It would be far too much work for me. But I
yeah,
honestly,
but
I
I
do think I'm
thought it
like,
was
oh my
too
God,
much
it sounds
work.
amazing.
I thought that it was going to be. I honestly, when I first started, I was like, I've made a terrible mistake because I can't do this. But again, like I've already said, I was like, no, I have to do this because I've
Yeah.
made a commitment. And it honestly, it's the best thing I've ever done. I feel like every single thing that I've ever done in my life, in terms of working in theatre, all those transferable skills that I've learned over the 15, 20 years that I was working, having my kids, um, the person that I am, the personality that I am, I feel like every single thing that I've ever done in my life has led me to now do this. And it is quite literally, it's my calling. It's what I was born to do. I just didn't realize it at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's
Amazing.
also, I don't regret everything that I did because actually,
Yeah.
there are some girls that were on my course at uni who were 18 years of age when they started and they always knew they wanted to be a midwife. And I'm like, wow, you're incredible because
Yeah.
I don't even think I knew what a midwife was when I was 18, let alone,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
actually, like, I
Yeah.
really take my hat off to them. Like, they're incredible people. But for me, I feel like I had to do everything in my life. I had to have that career. I had to have the life experiences that I've had in my life to lead me to this point. And
hmm
all of those things have basically helped to make me the midwife that I am. And so I've done it at exactly the right time in my life. And honestly, it's the best thing I've ever done. I love it so much.
That's so amazing to hear. So positive and so like confirmed, like categoric.
Yeah,
This is absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so do you have, looking back at all those experiences and that time, and do you have a theatre career highlight? Was there something that you did that you were like, oh, this was such a laugh, this was a great moment, or great friends from that job, or
Yeah. Do you know what? So when I did Mamma Mia, we were talking about Mamma Mia earlier.
Yeah,
I met my life friends when I did that show. My dressing room two girls, Mel is one of them, Mel
yeah,
Jakes. I met my dressing room two girls, and we are still like we've been messaging each other this morning. So they're my lifelong friends. And I had like anyone that's ever done Mamma Mia will tell you there's something special, which is why it's still running 11 billion years later. Like there is something special about that island that just brings you together, and it's just, yeah, it's just joy. It's absolute joy, that show.
Love it.
So yeah, I love that show. But do you know what? My favorite job that I've ever done, nobody will ever know what this show is apart from probably the people that worked on it with me. I did a show back in 2010 called Bells Are Ringing. So
Yeah,
you look at your
okay.
face.
No, I do. Can I tell you why I know it? Because it was at the Union and Sassy was in it.
Yes, with me.
And I worked with
Yeah.
her. Yeah. And I remember because I worked with her afterwards, I think. And she was like, oh, yeah, I remember Sassy
Yeah.
talking about it.
So me, Sassy Strallen,
Yeah.
Anna Jane Casey, basically Mark Antolin, who's now doing like Fly High Mark Antolin. Wow.
Yeah.
And it was basically we worked for free. We worked for travel expenses, and it was in the black box, that is the Union. We were the actors on stage. We were stage management. We were props. We were literally lifting, shifting. But again, it was just one of those experiences that it just stays with you because the teamwork. And I think, again, that's another transferable skill that I've taken into midwifery with me is the teamwork aspect. The way that we all came together to put on this absolutely beautiful piece of theatre. And it wasn't ever a case of, oh, can somebody take that chair off with them? And we were like, oh, can stage management do it? There was none of that. It was like, and like they had a bit of a running joke with me that I was like, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. It was just such a wonderful show with just such wonderful people. It's such a beautiful story. And it was in literally a room that's like no bigger than the room that I'm in now, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's probably my favorite show I've ever done.
Oh, I wish I'd seen it.
Yeah, Paul Foster directed it, and yeah, he's absolutely brilliant. He's doing amazing stuff now as well.
I mean,
I know. And so yeah, it was the best, most favorite thing I think I've ever done. And obviously I have done like wonderful things, but for some reason it just like lit something in me. It was beautiful.
but I love that answer because it's not about the fame and the glory or the champagne nights. It's like this was an amazing team. God, it's such a midwife answer, isn't it? It's such a nice person, Laura. No, but it's like it's about the team but also the show, and it was a beautiful show and the experience of that. I mean, I worked at the Union the old Union when it was.
It was the old Union, yeah, it was.
So much dust in my eyes. I actually got like an allergy from all the time.
You'd be like putting your makeup on, and there'd be a mouse running over your show shoes.
Yeah.
Like it was so grotty and grim in there. And it was actually Sassy. It was Sassy's first, because she was only 17 when we did this job. It was her first, or 16 maybe. It was her first ever show. And you know, obviously I'm like, well, look at it. It's Australian. Of course it is. Look at those legs. But you just see that they're just going to do amazing things. And I was like, this is such a special thing for her. But yeah, but the Union, yeah, it was so grim.
Funny.
It was yeah, like the dressing room was basically like the loft. It was just
above.
You had to like go up a ladder to get up there. Like it was just hilarious. But,
creepy.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's all for the fun.
Like you say, it wasn't about like a huge press night, and we've all been to amazing huge press nights, like, you know. But it was just everybody that came together just put on this gorgeous piece of theatre, and it was just I loved it.
Oh, love that. Absolutely love that. And okay, so then, and do you have a new, like a career highlight as from being a midwife? Is there a moment that really sticks out, or is it all just generally like, I just love being here?
I love being there. And for me, it's the women who are just going to come in and have a baby may as well not, like, obviously I'm going to be there, but they don't need me to be there like midwife, because midwife means with woman. That's what it means.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it actually means with woman. So like some women are just, their bodies are doing it and they're just going to have a baby. So for me, it's the women that come in, like when I had my daughter, it's the women that come in that need me to be with woman. Like they're the times that I'm like, oh, this is the privilege for me. The women that come in and they're like, there's lots of like medical things going on, or maybe there's a woman and she's, you know, she's a refugee, or maybe there's a woman that everything just goes horribly wrong for her and it's not what she imagined, or she's got mental health issues or whatever it might be. It's the
Hmm.
women that are coming at it from a perspective where everything is stacked against them, and you're there and you're the person, or they're really scared, and you can just, honestly, I get emotional talking about it. You can just look in
Mm.
their eyes and you're like, I've got you, like I'm here. And
Wow.
you see it like lift. You see this, like the stress and the
Yeah.
panic and the anxiety, you see it lift. And that's for me, that's the highlight, is being able to like be there for somebody in that. You want to be a midwife now, don't you? So
Mate, I've got
honestly,
tears in my
just
eyes.
I know. Honestly, and
Godly hell.
I'll never get old. Like I'll never get over it. I'll never like. It's just what
What
a
a privilege.
privilege to be
No,
able
it's.
to be there for the most incredible moment of somebody's life,
Hmm.
but also be able to be the person that might be able to get them through
Yeah.
the most. And because it's also like, they don't call it labor for nothing. Like, it's hard work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to be able to get somebody through it, and then they turn to you and they go, thank you so much, and you're like, I didn't do anything, you did it. I was just, you know I was just here in case you needed like a little bit of moral support. But yeah, it's an absolute privilege, and it's just, I'm so lucky. I really am.
Well, I think you're incredible. I mean, thank you so much for this chat. It's been totally amazing. But
Well, my pleasure.
thank you as well for, I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but thank you for being a midwife, because I would
Oh,
argue there is nothing more important. You're helping welcome life into the world. And
I
it's
know.
it just totally, I had entirely midwife led care, and it was, my midwives were amazing. And
Yeah.
it's the personal side of it as well. I remember as soon as I gave birth to my first, and she said, I was in the birthing suite, and she said, welcome Earthside. And in real life, I'm
Yeah.
like, not about that. I was like, oh, no. And then
No,
having just given birth, I honestly could have burst into tears. Oh, well, I was
I
already.
know.
But I just was like, oh, you're so vulnerable at that
Yeah.
time. And just having somebody there alongside with you that you trust, that you feel
Yeah.
like you can trust,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
just tells you, we've got this, everything's fine. It's the most important thing. Like,
Yeah.
and like, that's your job. That's
I
amazing.
know. I know.
Good for
I
you,
know.
man. That's
I'm
so
honestly,
incredible.
I'm so lucky. Honestly, it's just as I say, the best thing I've ever done. It really is. I'm
How
so
amazing.
privileged to be able to be there for those people in that moment and just share it with them in a way. And yeah, and also, you never
Incredible.
forget your midwife. You never forget your midwife.
No,
And
absolutely not.
I want to be, you never forget it because they had such a positive impact on you. I want to be that for people. I want
Yeah.
people to remember their birth stories, even if it doesn't go the way that they originally planned that it would. I want them to look back and be like, oh gosh, that was beautiful, and my midwife was there for me, and to just have the positive memories about it, like, forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There'll
that's
be
my goal.
there'll be someone on a podcast saying, and I remember, shout out to Laura Selwood, who was my
Ah!
midwife, in years to come. Oh God, how amazing. Well, thank you so much. That's
You're
really
so
inspiring.
welcome.
And I need to get a grip, because otherwise I'm about to get into 60 grand's worth of debt and try and become a
I was
midwife.
going to say, you need to get my husband to write you a UCAS reference.
Yeah,
That's what
I
you need.
do. Yeah, literally. Oh my God. No, thank you. I really appreciate the chat. Thank you
Um,
so much, Laura.